Good evening, everyone. My name is Martin Wahl. I'm a principal program manager at Microsoft. I work in our Azure Media Services group up in Redmond, Washington. And I'm very excited today to be talking to you about something that we all can attest to, which is we love sports, we love devices, and we love to watch sports on devices. And in fact, today I'm going to be talking about Microsoft's cloud platform that is worldly deployed, but also now being used for media and entertainment that includes some of the world's largest sporting events that have been streamed now over this platform. So we'll go on a little journey together talking about some past experiences and that we have done and how we've done it and some of the partners we've worked with, and talk about what it takes to deliver those type of events at scale. First of all, I should say that Microsoft is not new to the world of online sports. Microsoft, for example, has been supporting the Olympics for a very long time, going all the way back to the 2008 Summer Games in Beijing, China, where the very first digital coverage of having content available online to browsers started with Microsoft Media Technology and inside our operating systems and players. Then a couple years later in Vancouver, we expanded that by a consortium of work with our partners to deliver all of the coverage of that Olympic Games that would be available online to devices. But in 2012, in the Summer Games in London, this was the first time that working with partners and broadcasters around the world and Microsoft Azure Cloud, we were able to bring the games live, streaming to devices that included both phones and tablets. This is the first time this was ever done. And this was from the beginning opening ceremonies to the closing ceremonies. So it was quite a landmark event. And for all three of these Olympic Games, we've learned quite a lot about really what it takes to deliver online events, regardless of size, whether you're talking about very large-scale events like the Olympics to small events that might take place inside your own neighborhood sports arenas or in your corporate houses or in entertainment devices around the world. And I thought I would share some of those learnings with you and what is really driving our motivation to assist in the cloud. So a lot of this has to do with having a lot of more devices. Let's start there. We know that there are now more devices on the planet than there are people, and that's growing substantially. Pretty soon there will be almost 10 billion devices, or 20 billion. Each of these devices will be generating an amazing amount of data, 10.8 exabytes, whatever an exabyte is. And that's going to comprise about 90% of the world's internet traffic will be video. So if you think about it, we all have these devices in our pockets. Some of us have more than one. We all want to watch available content, both consumer and corporate, internal and external. And we're going to be eating up a lot of bandwidth. We're going to be consuming a lot of this data just for watching entertainment or sports or news or all different kinds of communication programming. And so that's going to mean there's going to be a lot of more cost to deliver these things. Now, one thing that is very true, if you want to deliver live events, live streaming, you're going to have to invest quite substantially in a lot of capital investment. You're going to have servers, you're going to need data centers, you're going to need racks, power, equipment, people, software, and you're going to have to do a lot of planning because sometimes you have a very, very popular event and your audience size is huge. And sometimes you might hit a bomb and that content isn't so exciting and maybe your audience isn't so big. So you have to plan for both the big and the small. And what about the fact that events and content is coming from all over the place, from big sports stadiums to island nations, to our own living rooms, to corporate houses, to universities, to medical centers. Where the content comes from is all over the place. So you better have mobile capabilities, elastic capabilities, and have a big budget because the cost of building all of this is very immense. And now we know from all of these events that live drives the largest audiences that there are. If you think about some of the biggest events, they're all live. The most watched events, the Super Bowl, the Academy Awards. These are large live events that drive live audiences, and that's not going to change. And I think most people in the marketing industry are convinced that as much as we have Netflix and on-demand content and the ability to watch movies at our own heart's content, what draws the largest audiences simultaneously is live. Well, live has challenges. It may have the largest events, but it also has the hugest cost. And you only get one shot to get it right. You have a live event, and suddenly you can't get a stream. Your audience tunes away, tunes out, closes the box. So this is very important, and there have been some great successes, and there have been some maybe major publicized failures. So it's very important that the live infrastructure that you use be the right one. Now, one thing that's also true is that the more screens you offer your content on, the more viewership you're going to have. Now, this isn't just a pie-in-the-sky dream for marketers. This has been proven by data. Take a look at this chart that we got from NBC Sports. They were the broadcaster here in the US that had the rights to the 2012 London Olympic Games. And when they broadcast that over the cloud, like I said, for the first time, they tried it in different ways. First, they provided it only on a PC through a browser. Then they expanded it to a mobile phone. Then they expanded it further to run on the iPad or a tablet. And each time they expanded the availability of a particular piece of content, they noticed that the viewership per household went up from 4 hours and 19 minutes of average watching on a television set alone, all the way up to almost twice that. What's also interesting that NBC found is that their most important audience, that is the audience that watches it on the television set, that's where they're driving most of their revenue, by having their content available on 3 other screens, that audience somehow also went up. Now, this spoke to them because, one, they know that next generation audiences tend to not watch video content on the big screen TV. I can certainly attest to that with my own teenage daughter who watches more than one screen at once, or at least she claims to. But also because the fact that the TV viewing audience went up suggested that people tend to watch more than one screen at a time, and they are more compelled to watch content if they know that they can have it wherever they are, whenever they are, and whatever device they're on. So this was a big aha moment for NBC, and certainly has driven them to be very cloud intensive with their programming. The other thing, of course, is that we know that mobile owners tend to themselves watch more TV. We've seen an increase of people who watch TV on mobile devices double over the last couple of years. And as I said, the next generation, what we'll call millennials, right, they spend about a third of their TV time watching it online. Perhaps they're binge watching, perhaps they're watching simultaneously with other things. But this is the trend of the next generation of TV viewers. So it's very important that content owners consider streaming their live content as well as providing it through traditional means. Now, of course, what we also learned in our years working in this area is that it's not just about widespread distribution, and it's not just about having the content available and not going down. It's also about protecting the business models that drive why content is out there in the first place. And so if you are a premium content owner, whether you're a sports league or you're a broadcaster or you're a network operator or you're a movie studio or wherever you are in the chain of the entertainment sector, it is very important to maintain your business and licensing models, protection of your content, the rights to control who gets to see it and where they get to see it and how they get to see it, and having all the technology behind you to make sure that just putting your content online doesn't just make it a free-for-all. We are, of course, standing in the YouTube studio, and we know that YouTube is a great platform for distribution of content. But content owners have to protect the dollars that go into the business around content, and they need a way to be sure that they can control the pipeline in the new world just like they do in the traditional way. So Microsoft has been working for a long time in productizing a solution to help content owners deliver their content and stream them live. And this is a product that we offer today called Azure Media Services, the group that I'm a part of. And Azure Media Services has 2 parts. It has the part about content encoding and transformation, and it has the part around content delivery and distribution. And when we looked at how we can use our public cloud, as was talked about earlier, for delivery of media content, we have quite a wide spread of functions that content owners are using today to deliver these means. And these range from getting the content from wherever it is, venue-based, file-based, camera-based, into the cloud, storing it there, encoding and transcoding it there, analyzing the content and helping to develop metadata around that content, protecting the content through encryption and digital rights management tools, streaming the content at scale using various means to do so, regardless of the size of the audience, and the player-client suite of technologies necessary to bring the best-of-breed experience, that is, what you, the viewer, see when you want to access that content. So this is the part of the Microsoft Cloud that we offer today, and we have pretty good success at seeing how these technologies are being used in the marketplace, and particularly what I wanted to share with you is for these major live events to deliver them from the broadcaster to the end consumer. So let's take a look at a couple of these right now. First one is, I'm sure, one you're all very familiar with, and that is, of course, the Super Bowl. NBC was the broadcaster here in the US who broadcast the Super Bowl this year, just about a month ago, and decided to make this available online streaming like previous broadcasters have done. This year was quite unique. The amount of viewers to the Super Bowl this year who were watching it online significantly increased from previous years, and they hit about 2.5 million unique viewers watched the Super Bowl in some form online on one of their devices. This was all done using the Microsoft Azure Media Services Cloud to deliver the stream in concert with partners around the country to really bring this experience so that you, the consumer, could click on the NBCSports.com website on whatever device you happen to be watching it on and get a high-quality, continuous feed of the Super Bowl that might either be as you walk to the kitchen to get yourself another beer, or if you had to run to the grocery store to restock. Either wherever you were able to stream and watch this great show. Another great event that was done using Azure Media Services was the FIFA World Cup this past summer in Brazil. In this case, now we had 10 different broadcasters, each of whom had the rights in their various countries around the world to deliver what is now the most watched sporting event in history, this past World Cup. And what's so interesting about doing streaming over the cloud is you can take the experience of watching it and really change it to play to your digital audiences. For example, take a look at what one of the broadcasters, this is particularly a couple outside the US, decided to do. Here's a screen of player tracking. So where are the players on the field? Now I'm watching this on an iPad and I can sort of be more involved in the experience that's very different from the traditional way of viewing. Or perhaps you might want to choose your own camera angle. This is capable because the cloud can deliver more than one video stream at a time, very simply, very easily, and scale and add new channels instantly. Now just think about that. If I can add a brand new channel that can reach millions of viewers using the cloud in about 5 minutes compared to what it used to take 18 to 24 months to spin up a terrestrial satellite delivered channel, we're really talking about an evolutionary, revolutionary way of delivering TV using the cloud to do that. And that was demonstrated with the viewership and the capabilities of what these kinds of events were doing. Now, a year ago, almost a little over a year ago, of course, the Sochi Games in Russia, the Winter Games, were delivered, and this was by far the largest Olympic event that Microsoft has ever been involved in providing the infrastructure for. In this case, we're talking about 18 days of continuous coverage of every single event, making them available live and instantaneously available on demand the moment that it goes live, used with 5 different broadcasters around the world, and 10,000 hours of programming. This is by far exceeded, this is almost 3 times what we did in Vancouver, and more so in London, and really substantially stepped it up a notch. Now again, what you see here are screenshots of different ways to render the experience for the viewer, which is completely in the hands of the broadcaster to decide. But the cloud can give the ability of the broadcaster to provide new experiences, but also maintain the necessary volumes and stability that was needed. In this case, and in the US, for example, we know that one of the particular events, the game between the Canadians and the US hockey, men's hockey, hit an unbelievable 2.1 million viewers. That was far in excess of what was expected to be viewed by the broadcasters. that was okay because the cloud can elastically scale to handle the load that is necessary to handle that many streams happening in parallel. And that's precisely what some of the values and the merits of using a cloud to deliver this kind of programming can provide. NBC, which is one of our biggest customers here in the US, has moved their entire sports franchise to stream through the cloud using an app that they developed called NBC Sports Live Extra. And that's available, of course, on iOS and Android, on Windows and other platforms, and really demonstrates that the next generation for them of sports viewers are those that can also watch their content on demand, live, on various devices. Now, we've had a lot of other great customers come forward and say, I want to take advantage of what the cloud can do. For example, NASCAR, the entity that provides us with the great moments of car racing and bike racing, launched a new service last year called fanschoice.tv, entirely driven online to really help monetize the fact that there are a lot of racing fans out there that weren't able to go to the racetracks, and they wanted to put cameras at all of their racetracks and stream them live and monetize that content, provide with a great experience, player statistics and driver information, and give you access to being at the racetrack without having to be at the racetrack. And in fact, when they launched with us, they didn't think that this was something that they could pull off very quickly. And so we wanted to demonstrate how fast you could launch a service like this, and we built the very first version of this fanschoice.tv in 3 weeks because the cloud is already built. These services already exist. Our content owner customers bring their content to us, and we pretty much give them what's already built out, a web, a mobile, and a streaming platform for them to deliver at scale. Now, of course, you don't have to be in sports and you don't have to be only doing entertainment to take advantage of what the cloud can offer. Take a look at an event that just happened 2 weeks ago. This is the first time that there was ever a worldwide robotic surgery that was done streaming through the cloud with 10 different hospitals around the world, all working together in a 24-hour marathon of surgeries, doing streaming to medical researchers and doctors that were taking place. So again, the ability to spin this up, put a camera like this in any place, and feed that into the cloud and reach an audience that's halfway around the world is pretty amazing. And that's precisely what the cloud can do. Now, I wanted to bring one particular case example to you, which is something that is just about to kick off. In fact, it's launching just this week. It's a company called Next Generation Sports Network. And they are a group of investors out of Europe, actually, who just recently bought all of the broadcasting rights to stream European soccer to the United States and to Canada. And they had a big challenge. I bought the rights, and now I want to build a new business without having to build any physical infrastructure. Can I use the cloud to do this? And the answer, of course, is yes. And they built an entire solution streaming the games, which will launch this spring, using the cloud to deliver streaming soccer. This is all the Premier League soccer events that some of you may be familiar with, or if you aren't, you might certainly become a big fan because this is the first time that you can deliver an entire business using the cloud and all of the capabilities that the cloud can offer. I think their actual quote is, "We want to be the Netflix of sports," the CEO of NGSN says. And why not? Netflix has certainly demonstrated that there's an appetite for watching content on a device online wherever you are. Why shouldn't it also include soccer games that are live streaming wherever you happen to be at the same time? Can you imagine every content owner with rights wanting to be able to do what these guys are doing? It's pretty incredible. But the infrastructure necessary to do that is pretty outstandingly huge. And that's precisely why Microsoft has been adapting our cloud to be used for the media entertainment industry to do these kinds of streaming. This is the website that actually will be launching this week. And I highly recommend you race because some of the first, I think, 10,000 people to get to the website when it launches at ngsn.com will get their first month of streaming soccer free. So tell them that I sent you. Now, if you're curious about how this was all done, if you'll indulge me for a second, I'll put up a architecture slide, which always has a funny effect when you do these things. But the idea is that you can stream from a stadium into the cloud. You can ingest this content You can encode it in the cloud. You can create multiple bit rates. You can stream all those bit rates out. You could provide all that content available to be online. You could pass it through a CDN, and boom, you can hit every device on the planet that you want to make available, regardless of its format. Now again, what did you, the content owner, do? You just provided the content. The cloud did all the work. Now, of course, with these guys, they had to also take advantage of the fact they want program data, and they want to message you when a particular event is happening, and they also want to store information about what you like in a database, and then they're going to have all kinds of back and forth between the client and our databases and transaction systems and caching, and it goes on and on and on. And guess what? This company built this entire structure in the cloud. None of it is running in any physical data center that they own. And this could be the business of the future, particularly a media business of the future. But this is a challenge that Microsoft met and built, and we invite any of our customers to take advantage of because this architecture exists. What's amazing is when you try to think of what it would take to build this kind of business in the old days without the cloud, it would probably be multiples of years and possibly in the range of $650 million to $1 billion. Just think of what any major broadcasting center had to spend in the past. And this company did it in less than 12 months. So that's pretty incredible, especially when they launch. And they anticipate having some massive numbers of subscribers. At least you talk to the CEO, he's convinced Americans are ready for soccer. That's what he said. Again, another architecture slide just to show you, everything that we do at Microsoft, we build with the idea that our developers are some of our best customers as well. And so therefore, it's not just finished product that we're offering here, but also the ability for developers around the world to take advantage of these as services. We have an API that allows you to dive into each one of these different components and say, submit an encoding job. I have 1,000 files that I need to get encoded today to a different format. I don't want to have to buy physical hardware that I'm only going to use today, so I rent encoding capabilities, and I submit encoding jobs. When the job is done, the virtual encoders are destroyed, and I'm left with my encoded product, which is precisely what my customers want. Or I have customers that say, I would like to take this content, which has been sitting on disks inside my warehouse, not getting any money, growing dust, and I want to find a way to stream it because I am convinced that there are people around the world who want to be able to watch archives of car races or Hindi movies or medical videos or science videos. And so therefore, they push all that content to the cloud, they publicize it, they build a website, they have a nice client, and boom, all of a sudden their content is getting distributed and they didn't have to do anything. So this architecture is very malleable, it's very customizable, and the goal, again, is to use the cloud to take advantage of what the cloud can offer: scalability, reliability, low cost, time to market. Now, getting back again to round up with live streaming of sports. So we know that live streaming of sports has itself some very, very difficult requirements. But if you're going to do a service like the Super Bowl, or like our comrades at NGSN doing the soccer, or any other event that you might have, you're probably going to need the following items as your recipe for successful live streaming. You're going to want to support multiple forms of getting your content to the cloud, ingest of live streams. Today, we can support RTMP, which a lot of digital cameras are supporting. We can support MPEG transport stream very soon, where broadcasters who already are creating MPEG can send that content directly to the cloud to have the cloud receive it and transmit it around the world, or in country, or in region, or wherever they want it to go. Cloud encoding is going to be very transformative. The reason is because think about the cost today of the next channel. You decide you want to have another event. You decide you want to have multiple events. In the case of the Olympics, there were 42 channels that NBC wanted to have in order to cover every event that was going on all in parallel. They had to spin up 42 channels and then destroy 42 channels every single day. If there's an event that takes place only once, you're going to have to spin up all that infrastructure and then spin it back down again. So the ability to do all of this virtually is quite a powerful concept. The other thing that is very important is, as I said, there are a lot of devices out there, and none of us device manufacturers, and we can admit it, got together and said, let's all build exactly the same product with exactly the same protocol, with exactly the same format. We all know that our screen sizes are different, our operating systems are different, and that's okay because the cloud is pretty smart, and it can automatically and dynamically transform the content to match the device that you have at the time that you're watching it. You, the content owner, don't have to worry about it. I was talking to one of my customers who said, yep, I admit it, I create 44 different copies of every one of my assets, just in case somebody on a Sony PlayStation wants to watch it, and somebody on a HTC phone also. And since they don't all work with the same compatible resolution or protocol, I just got to do it. Well, those days are over. The cloud is now capable of dynamically changing the content to match the format that you need, and that's very important. Equally as important, of course, is that the content be protected. And you need to know as a content owner that you're protected. You have encryption, you have digital rights management, and you have different keys that you can hand out on your own basis. So whether I want to sell my content to watch for one time, whether I want to watch it for a week or a month, or only if you're sitting in this room, or only if you're on my corporate network, or only if you're holding a Windows phone in your pocket, then I can decide whether to give you a license key to view it or not, dynamically, on the fly, and change your business models on the fly. Why should you be locked in just because you had to encode it multiple times? Advertising and ad signaling has to be a part of your solution. I know that you all know that we were all watching the Super Bowl for the commercials just as much as the game, although the right team won. And advertising is a big component, so that's very important. Now, what about this? This is all new. What if I told you that I could take the cloud and read through your content and pull out all of the keywords that were mentioned in the content and give you the ability to build a search app? So if I have an archived library of content, I can find all the words that refer to, all the videos that refer to Olympics. You could help your customers find the content they want that matches the relevance of what they're searching for. The cloud can do this. It automatically can pull the spoken word, change it to the written word, make it searchable, and even do it in multiple languages. Pretty powerful stuff. As I wrap up the second half of the recipe, as I mentioned, the ability to elastically scale servers is very important because your audience sizes change constantly. Integrate into a CDN. This is necessary if you're going to reach content all around the country or the world. What about the ability to do instantaneous live to VOD? I have a broadcast, and I want to make that broadcast available to my customer right after it starts so that they can go back and watch the play from the beginning, even if they joined a couple minutes in. The cloud does this immediately, instantaneously, and seamlessly. It's a very cool capability. Also, the ability to subclip, to create highlights, to be able to tell your audience, hey, something really exciting just happened in the live broadcast. Go look at it and watch this clip, but only show them the 30 seconds or 60 seconds that's relevant to them. The ability to subclip off of a live stream is a very powerful tool for broadcasters to use, particularly in sports. Real-time data and telemetry. The ability to know that no matter where you are in the world, you have a data center, a Microsoft data center near you, and one that is paired, so that if a meteorite were to hit one of our data centers in one region, the Super Bowl will stay up so that you can keep watching because we have it automatically being redundant to a second data center in another part of that same region. Very important. And that's part of what Microsoft guarantees to our customers and why we think that our cloud infrastructure is the best that we have to offer. And then lastly, cross-device hosted players. As much as we all love to admit it, maintaining and building players is tough. And every time there's a new phone out of Apple or device that comes out, you got to go as a player developer, oh shoot, now I got to go test and redesign my player all over again. But what if you had a player that worked on every device that was out there automatically and was guaranteed just to play video, which is all that you really want in the first place, just to play video on that device. And we offer that as a solution as well. So when you combine all of these things together, I think what you'll find is that there are quite a lot of capabilities that the cloud offers, a lot of things that are necessary to deliver a valuable live experience. And part of what Microsoft is bringing to the market today is to really help drive these types of events bigger, better, faster, cheaper, and more exciting. Thank you. Any questions I can answer?
So you were mentioning you were having dynamically available output formats like HLS and Smooth and all that. Does that mean you have a common format to derive that from, or what do you do?
I think the basic answer is that whatever the content gets encoded to becomes the common format. So typically what happens is our customers will either, again, if it's live, it comes in one particular format, and I mentioned a couple of them up there, RTMP, MPEG transport stream, or if it's file-based, it'll come in some various source format. But typically we standardize everything around the standard streaming format, which happens to be MP4 right now. So we will convert everything to MP4, and then from there, we will package it up to whatever the device needs at the time. For our customers that still do traditional progressive download, which there's still quite a lot of that out there, then what you're downloading would be most typically an MP4 file. But I do have customers that do convert everything to even maintain it in a high bitrate format like MXF, right? So that they can distribute it to syndicates or other sources. So for the dynamic packaging capability, typically we bring everything to MP4, which is standard, and then from there reconvert it on the fly to those formats that you saw. And that's true for live and for on demand. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody.